In today's news feature, Lisa Sugar talks with new Luzerne County District Attorney Sam Sanguedolce.
What was going through your mind as you took the oath of office last week?
As I took the oath, I was thinking back to my beginning days in this office when I was first hired by then District Attorney Dave Lupus and First Assistant Joe Carmody, how I basically walked into the courthouse never having been here before, knowing almost nothing about criminal law, and I definitely knew less about politics. I never dreamed or even thought at the time it was possible for me to be sitting in this seat as I sit here today. And as I stood on those steps, I thought about my family history. My grandparents all came from Italy, not barely speaking English, if at all. And here I was, the sitting Luzerne County District Attorney. It's actually pretty amazing and a prime example of the American dream, I guess.
How has the job changed? We are seeing now, when there are prominent cases on the news, that there is now cell phone video, there is police dash cam video, police video, and of course security cameras everywhere. Is that making your job more difficult or making it easier?
Both. So in many ways, as you can imagine, we have more crime on video than ever before, which is a double-edged sword because jurors, I think, now expect to have the crime on video. That's really a stroke of luck. It might happen in 1% of cases, but it makes it more difficult to convict when you don't have that locked, solid evidence. You have to basically believe people's word. You have to actually test credibility of witnesses, see them through cross-examination. So for the cases that we get that sort of CSI effect of you watch TV and they get a fingerprint and they put it on their laptop and immediately have a result. Like, well, that's not reality, but that's sometimes what jurors expect. So technology is good in the sense that it's given us, in a lot of cases, better evidence than ever before, but it's bad because when we don't have that evidence, it makes it a little bit more difficult to obtain convictions.
The double homicide trial for Hugo Selensky, you were the lead prosecutor on that case. Many people knew your name nationwide. And that was a case also where the prosecution was seeking the death penalty. In the end, Selensky did end up with life in prison. But how difficult is something like that to deal with? Because that's a big part of the job, and it's not something that just anybody could do. It takes a special person.
So number one, you have to deal with the publicity of it. And number two, the sheer volume of material. You'll recall that he had a murder trial before that for a double murder. There was a fifth body, and then this double murder. So four, and then the one that never got solved. So in dealing with the sheer volume together with the publicity, and then pile on a capital murder penalty, it really was a lot to deal with. Fortunately, we had a terrific team. We were able to really share the load and had one goal in mind, and that was to make sure that he never walked the streets again.
One last question before we go. Any goals that you have for the office or changes that you want to make immediately, or leave things status quo?
Well, as you know, Stephanie and I were very close. We worked very closely together, which I think, I would attribute most of the success of the office to that relationship. So the decisions that Stephanie made, I fully supported. I intend to keep those going. Some of the biggest decisions were starting the Luzerne County Drug Task Force being supervised by this office. If we had 20 more officers, we could work them around the clock and really, not run out of work. So we're proceeding with that. We've taken over the DUI task force, which, DUIs now consists of about 30% of our cases. And finally, we're looking at now, there's a grant we were able to obtain to take over the auto theft task force. So we're going to be able to dedicate a lot of resources to auto theft in Luzerne County going forward.
I thank you so much. I wish you the best of luck in your new job. And it's really not new because you've been working in that office for so long, doing an outstanding job. But congratulations, good luck. And thank you so much for taking the time for speaking with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me, Lisa.
Today's news feature is brought to you by Feisner's Ford in Freeland, who is celebrating 75 years in business. Give them a call at 570-636-3920, or you can log on to feisnersford.com.
Thank you for that interview, Lisa. There is still a question of whether or not the position of Luzerne County District Attorney will be on the election ballot in the fall, or if Sanguedolce will be the DA until the end of Stephanie Salavantis' term at the end of 2023. According to a Standard Speaker article, a new law in Pennsylvania says when a DA leaves in the second half of their term, the first assistant district attorney takes over for the remainder of the term. However, nothing is said about what happens if a DA leaves in the first half of their term. Sanguedolce tells the Standard Speaker he would welcome an election if that's how the court interprets the new law.